So today's topic I chose is probably one of the fundamentals in social skills. Okay, how you are with other beings and how you develop relationships and how you continue relationships. And it's often it's a common one, but it must be understood in depth to really be able to apply it. And that skill is called listening and listening well. Okay. Now, as counselors, now we are therapists. So in therapy also, like one of the key principles that we are first taught is around listening. So I thought I would lay down some of the things around it and why it's so, and I'll also talk about why it's so difficult to sometimes apply also, right? It sounds so simple. Listen, you know what? My ears are here. Anybody talks, I'm listening. But it's obviously way more complex than that. And it must be understood. So I'll first begin. First of all, if we really want to define it, what is good listening? Okay, so we can a good definition would simply be around: is the message, whatever they want to convey, has been really passed on or not? Like that's the basic part, right? Are you able to actually understand what the other person is saying? And if you have probably listened. And here I'm talking not just about hearing, which is just the physiological part, sound waves coming in. Here I'm talking about comprehension, right? So if you are able to comprehend other people, you have taken the first step towards listening well. And so this would be the basic definition. But we can talk about bad listening too. What is bad listening? And bad listening, and where does it come from? And what are the principles that we need to take care to avoid that? So I'll discuss some precursors to good listening and avoid bad listening. Okay. So what are those precursors? First thing is that you genuinely must develop curiosity towards learning new things, or just this openness that, okay, you know what, I can learn something new can come in and I want to know. So this general curiosity, and this ties to the fact, the third principle that I talked there was the knowledge and cooperation, constant seeking knowledge and knowledge, right? So if you understand the importance of constantly seeking knowledge in life, then you also become curious to seek it, right? And so this is why when you're talking to other people, even if you may feel like they may not know much, they may be younger, they may be junior, they may be anybody, and you may feel like, okay, this person is not supposed to have any experience here. Still, if you just have this curiosity that you know what, I really want to know, you will still give it a chance, because if you're curious, you listen more. You'll just sit down with with attention to somebody. So curiosity is a big precursor to good listening. Okay, and that's why if you develop curiosity, not only will you become a ultimately better listener, you will actually be able to amass better knowledge, which is kind of our fundamental. Okay. Second is precursor to good listening is equality of status, right? Now, this again is very fundamental part of those three skills, right? What was the second one? Equality and similarity. So if you understand equality well, listening also comes naturally. How are they connected? Let me tell you. So when you talk, all of us have this expectation that we are heard. People give us a chance to talk. They actually listen to us, right? They don't interrupt us, right? So if you just tap into your own needs, how do you feel when others interrupt you or they don't let you talk? You immediately get the answer that, okay, it feels bad. I don't want that. I want to be able to express freely, right? I don't want people to interrupt me or to stop me or block me, right? This is why once you simply understand that this is my need and others are equal and similar, so it must be their need too. So if you simply understand the equality principle, treat others the way you would like to be treated. So that in itself would naturally lead to this, you know what, now we have to listen to other people because I want others to listen to me. So if you understand equality well and similarity well, again, naturally it leads to better listening. Okay. Third precursor is the acceptance of others' right to disagree with others. So quite often most people actually have not fully accepted the fact that others can just disagree with you and they can find you wrong. They can actually have very counter opinions. And these disagreements They are especially difficult when the matters are more and more important, and especially when people are close to you, right? So you're discussing something when you're talking. So the moment you feel, okay, you know what, this is going in another direction, like you're planning something, you say, I want to go to north, and somebody says, I want to go to south. So the moment somebody starts talking about south, you're like, you know what, you just don't want to listen anymore, because you know where this is going. And there you have not made peace with the fact that others will have different opinions, others will disagree with you. So if you're not expecting that in advance, you would want to shut them up, you will not want to listen to them. But if you accept the fact, okay, you know what, others will always have some differing opinions, it could be wrong, right, doesn't matter, but it could be different from you, and you just accept that fact, you naturally become a better listener. Because then when they start talking and it's different from you, you're like, you know what, this is just the nature of life, I accept it. So I can hear disagreements, I can tolerate them. Yeah, I use the word tolerate because yes, it is difficult. It takes time to be able to take disagreements really in a mature manner, because we are not built like that. We just want people to be on our side, we just want to team up, we just want to be proven right. And that's why, because of all of those things, we become bad listeners. Okay. So how do you override that? Again, by accepting the fact that people will always be disagreeing. Okay. Another precursor is prioritizing people. Okay. So in general, where do you put people? Okay. So if you put people in an important, basically at an important status in your life, that, okay, you know what, people around me are important, then what they say also becomes important to you, just by connection. So it's like if you are at a job interview, right? You are paying full attention to what they are asking you, right? Or what they are saying to you, because the job is important to you, the people are important to you. You cannot run away. You won't just pull up your phone from your pocket and, you know what, start scrolling Instagram, because that situation is super important, and that makes you an amazing listener. Okay. The same way, if you're interested in a movie and if you're really enjoying it, then of course you become a better listener. So of course, although that's slightly different because it's about your enjoyment. So how do we become better listener? If you, in general, you say, you know what, my wife is very important to me, my children are super important to me. Okay. Yes, I have my work, yes, I want to relax, yes, I want to talk to my friends, but no, my family is super important to me. So when they become important, naturally you prioritize what they're talking, right? And when they come to talk to you, you leave everything aside and you listen, and that makes you a better listener too. So in general, the precursor would be, try to prioritize people over other things in your life. When they talk, you listen. Okay, that will make you a better listener. Okay. Now these were some precursors. Now I'll talk about some specific elements of it, right? How do you actually apply it? Some behaviors around listening which could help you. First is, again, it's a no-brainer, and I briefly touched on it. It is just attention, because that is kind of the first element in your perception and your cognition, which is attention. What are you paying attention to? Because some people naturally have bad attention spans and some people have naturally good ones, but still, attention requires energy, focus. Attention requires you to be conscious about it. You know what, I am going to tune into this and tune out from everything else. So this activity of attention is not always natural. You're not always built for it. Okay. So when people are talking, the first thing is you can do this very practically, which is leave everything aside whenever possible, and just pay attention so that you can simply take in the information that is being said, so that the others don't have to repeat themselves, they don't feel that they're ignored, right? So that is the starting point, attention. Another element of good listening is, don't interrupt. Now, this is a very tricky one, so I must clarify this, because we can take it into extremes also, but either extreme would be too much. So now interruptions must be done, first of all, must be avoided as much as possible. But if done, must be done very, very carefully and with a specific purpose. So let me lay that down. So if you look at conversations, you can remind of yourself of any conversation that you had in your family, right? Any difficult one. you must have noticed how interruptions completely derail the conversation. You're just not able to finish your point, and another one comes in, and they're not able to finish the point, and then you come in, right? And the conversation goes nowhere. You thought that you would lead to some conclusion, but then you end up in a bigger fight because tu ma'am, and just you constantly interrupting, right? So this interruption is one of the biggest communication breakers, and that makes you a bad listener. So why do we interrupt? There are multiple reasons. One is obviously you're just impatient to get across your point. You know what? I'm done listening to you. I've heard enough. Just listen to me. Hear me talk and agree with me. So you're not interested in the other person's perspective. You just want to lay down your own. So they're talking. They have said a couple of lines. You immediately want to interrupt and say your own part. That's one reason. Another reason simply could be you want to constantly correct them. Okay, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean so. When somebody is trying to say something, of course they will not be able to perfectly summarize what you're going to say, right? So let's say they're trying to narrate an incident or a story. Now you may feel like, no, that came first, that came second, no, I didn't say that, they said. So it's like you want to constantly correct them, right? And that also makes you a great interrupter, okay? Because you feel like, okay, you know what, where are you going with this? I won't let you say wrong things. But the big mistake is here that sometimes the things that you're trying to correct in others while interruption, they're not the most important part of the story anyway, right? They were immaterial, but you completely derailed them. You broke the conversation. If you had waited, if you had actually listened, and if they had finished their point, the point was probably something else, which was more important to the conversation, and the conversation could have gone forward. So that's why this constant need to correct people's small details, that also makes you a great interrupter, okay? And that must be avoided. And the way to do that would be, just remember that if you listen to them well, it will be your chance later to speak too. And when it's your chance to speak, you can correct those details if necessary. And sometimes it won't even be necessary because, again, the bigger point is something else. So the idea here is, instead of constant in-between correction, nagging type correction, the idea there is let them speak, even if you feel that they're saying certain wrong things. You can correct them later on, okay? So don't interrupt too much for that reason too. And sometimes interruption could simply be about impatience, because you just can't hear so much, and some people just lose patience in general. You know what, I don't have patience for this anymore, just speed it up. So it's like I've heard people, like, you're going to tell them a story, get to the next point, tell me, just get to the conclusion. So they just don't have the patience, and they just interrupt immediately, faster please. And that's what also ultimately makes you a bad listener. Okay, so the idea again is, you can see many reasons, many precursors behind your interruption too, and all of them must be taken care of. Okay, otherwise you will never become a great listener. Okay, now I said in some areas it could be done productively too, interruption, and let me give you that. Although you can call these like advanced skills, don't try this too soon. First apply those initial skills that I just talked about. If you master them, then go on to these advanced skills. So the advanced skill, but still I'm going to give you the brief what I mean by it. If you must interrupt, it must start with first summary of what the other person is saying. And if you do want to correct them, okay, you do it in a requesting manner or suggestive manner. So the idea there is that, let's say somebody's talking, right? And you say, look, you know what, you said that fact right, and you feel it's important. So I want to correct something that did not happen, and then wait for their reaction. If they allow that interruption, if they allow that correction, it's fine. And if they say, you know what, shut up, don't let me finish, then you back off. So with interruption, you must remember when to back off. Okay. So if I really lay it down, first is start with summarizing them, which is okay. And by the way, if you summarize them, sometimes they stop talking too, because that's ultimately, that's what they want to do, right? They want to be heard, they want to be summarized. So if you do that well, when you start interrupting, okay, you know what, okay, so you're saying A, B, C, D. Just remember these two words. So you want to say, so you are saying, if you start with that, the other person will actually let you interrupt, because they know that, okay, now you're talking about what they were thinking, not about your own agenda. So start with, so you're saying such and such and such. And if you summarize that well, they will actually stop and your chance will come in. Okay, so you're saying such and such, and then, so that's one part. If you really want to shift to your side, and sometimes if you want to correct something, then, okay, there is a small correction, I want to correct that. And if you just suggest it, don't take over. It's like when you interrupt with force, what are you doing? You're basically snatching the mic away from them and taking the mic and taking the stage. Okay, so the better way is, if you have to say something, you ask for the mic. Okay, I have something to say. And if they are really holding on to the mic, you don't grab it, you don't fight for it. Okay, you let it go, you let them finish. This is the key part. Okay, so don't interrupt in a way of domination and completely taking over. Interrupt in a way of, you know what, if I say something in between, maybe this will give direction to the conversation. Like maybe if I just bring in that point, so it's like I take the mic from you, I say a small line and give it back to you, just so that the conversation can get a little more productive and we can be online, as opposed to just taking the mic and standing with it and just then they become the listener. So these advanced skills, these require a lot of practice and just being very mindful of other people's experience. But if you do it well, you can actually make your conversations more productive. Okay, so but for now, the larger principle, probably 80 to 90% of the time, these are like unique times, but 80 to 90% of the times, don't interrupt at all. Just let people finish, just let them talk. Okay, maybe 5-10% times, if you do it like that, it could be helpful. If let's say somebody's talking for too long, right, then maybe you can come in. Or if somebody's talking giving completely wrong facts, then maybe you can come in. But most of the times people don't talk for that long. If you really let them speak, they will finish in 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, right? So let them talk, let them finish, let them have their time. Your turn will come through. Okay, so that way, if you mind your interruptions well, you obviously become a much better listener. Another very key skill in becoming a good listener is questions. You must ask questions before you actually say things. And a good listener has to, so it's like, who are the favorite students for teachers? Students who ask good questions. The same way, in that moment, when you are becoming a listener, you have to be able to ask good questions. And asking good questions means which ultimately help the other person clarify better, which help the other person actually, they also feel, you know what, the other person has understood and then asked a question, as opposed to just foolish questions, which probably is something they've already talked about and you were not paying attention, something like that. So when you ask questions to clarify, that also tells the other person, oh, they're actually listening, because why would you ask questions otherwise? And questions also communicate curiosity clearly, right? Because curious person will ask questions. So if you ask questions in a conversation, okay, what do you mean by that? Just try to get deeper and deeper, because so many times what happens is, let's say somebody's talking about their work. You know what? I'm really troubled by my work, and you immediately start talking. You know what? Yeah. My work is also bad to such and such. Now that you are just a bad listener right now, because you did not ask enough questions to fully understand them. So if you say, you know what, I'm really troubled by my work, what is a natural next question? There could be many. One would be, what exactly? So what are you troubled by? Yeah, you know what, I'm sick of my boss. Oh, then again, you can talk about your boss, or you can ask another question. Another question could be, okay, so what happened? Anything recent, or is it something general? And then let them say something, you know what, no, he's just always rude to me, right? He's randomly rude to me. Some days he'll be nice, but some days he'll be very, very rude. Okay. And now when you have asked a couple of questions, of course, then you can say something, but there is opportunity to still ask more, which would be, okay, so anything happened recently? Would you want to share something? So your questions actually not only let the other person dig deeper into it, you also get a better understanding of what they're going through. And then after asking 3 questions, what happened, and then what, and then what, then when you say something, it's actually way more fruitful for them. You'll be way more relevant, and others will actually want to listen to you because you have heard them too. Okay, so asking questions is just a very, very inherent part of listening, or in general learning also. And in some manner, when you're talking to other people, some learning could be going on, whether it's not the typical sense of learning, but you're learning about them, right? So if you're learning about them, of course, you would ask more questions. So asking questions is an important one. And here I would want to mention that what is the larger goal? So you can see 2 to 3 larger goals behind listening. One is, which I included in the definition, which was they should feel like you should be able to understand them, right? So one goal of good listening would be, and in a test also, that are you able to summarize what others are saying? And sometimes the question is, are you able to summarize them in a manner that they will confirm it, right? So if you summarize them, will they say, yes, tick, you have understood me well? If that can happen, it means you are a good listener. But if you summarize in a manner and the others say, no, that's not what I said, what are you talking about? No, that I did not mean that at all. Then you are a bad listener. So that is a test. So for you, the goal is, after this, can I really paraphrase them, summarize them in a couple of lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, right? And then they say, yeah, that's pretty much what I said. And again, even in therapy, as counselors, when we do this, one of the first skills is this, paraphrasing and summarizing, that when a client comes to you, you have to be able to summarize what they are saying. Otherwise, what will you work with, right? If you're not even on the same page. So that is kind of the larger goal and test also. Another goal of good listening is so that the others also have a feeling of being understood. Now, these are two kind of different things. One is, first one is for you, that you are understanding them. The second is that they feel understood. And it's their experience now. Because for us, as humans, we have this need to be understood. So many couples, they just make this complaint, my wife just doesn't understand me. My husband just doesn't understand me, right? Nobody understands me. So this feeling of being understood is such a deep feeling, that can somebody be on the same page as me? Can you really understand the background of where I'm coming from, what I'm really going through, and what I really mean, what my real intentions are? Like, there's just so much in our head, and we just want somebody to understand it. So when you become a good listener, you give others the feeling of being understood, and you have added so much value to their lives. And this is again why, giving the therapy example, people come to therapists sometimes not even to find a solution. They just want somebody who can listen to them and and so that they can feel understood. So here I'm telling you that if for your social skills, if you really want to develop deeper relationships with people, and if you really want to be liked also, add value to people's life by letting them feel understood, by becoming a good listener. Okay. And then close to this would be, when you listen well, another goal here is so that others can have the feeling that they could talk. So what does that mean? Just like wanting to be understood, we also have the desire to just talk, to share, right? To be able to say stuff. And that's why chit-chatting, gossiping, that just happens constantly, right? So the idea there is, when you listen well, you let others fulfill the need of being able to share something. The sharing, again, is an inherent need. So that's also part of the conversation. And this is why, and why am I mentioning these goals? So some people think that the moment I understood somebody, why should they talk anymore? Just like that impatience, right? I understood you, shut up, now let me talk, right? And that's where they miss out on these two goals. Because the goal is not just that you understand them. The goal is also that they feel that they could talk, and that they feel that they are understood. Okay? So for people who are impatient with others, remember those two goals. It's not just about you. It's about other people's feelings too as they talk. Okay? And when you take that into account, naturally you become more patient and you become a better listener. Okay? And now I could just discuss some of the benefits. So in fact, I kind of have, but I still want to emphasize them. First is definitely, if you become a better listener, you do become a better learner. You will actually learn way more than anybody who just wants to talk and talk and talk, right? And I think there is an old saying also, right? The nature gave you, I think it was about God, but yeah, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? So that you can listen more and talk. And that makes sense. And it's a nice saying, because it does convey the part that, okay, you know what? You should listen more. Because it's just that you are one talker, it's just one brain, but when you listen, you have access to so many different brains. And that's why just this habit of listening more is way more important than talking, at least for your learning, right? You really won't gain much by talking. With talking, yes, the only learning you will gain is that you will be required to clarify your concepts, right? Which is key. When you talk, when you explain something, then you're required to know it first. So that is definitely the benefit. But if you're into learning something, then you have to listen more. Okay, and especially when learning about other people. Second great benefit would be, of course, that you will be liked more. People who are listeners, because see, most people, okay, not everybody, many people are just dying to share, to talk about themselves, to talk, and they don't have anybody, right? They go and it's like two friends talking on the phone. You know what? Such and such happened to me. Oh, you know what? Such and such happened to me. Like, wait, I was just talking. So my need isn't fulfilled yet. So please wait. And that doesn't happen to us. Everybody is just, they just want to share and share and share. They just want to talk about themselves. So if you are a person who is not eager to just talk and just listen and let other people take the stage and the mic, you will be loved. They're like, oh, you know what? Where is that person? I want to talk to that because that guy, because this person actually listens and actually understands. So if you want to develop good relationships, good friendships, good bonds, just anything socially, listening is kind of one of the fundamentals. So if you do it well, you really will have a much easier time socially. Okay. And finally, as last benefit, again, the reciprocative benefit is, if you pay good attention to other people, if you listen to them well, you increase the likelihood that now they will listen to you too. Because if you interrupt too much, then they interrupt you back. But if you listen, then that creates a very relaxing environment, which is, okay, you know what? We don't have to rush. We don't have to hurry. You talk, and then it's my turn, then I'll talk. So after you have kind of allowed them to unload themselves, right? After they have completely feeling, you know what, I've said everything that I wanted to, and I'm empty inside. Now they won't again come basically snatching the mic back from you, because you have given them enough time. The need of talking is fulfilled for them, at least for that moment. And that's why if you really want to talk, first listen, because you are creating the atmosphere of the conversation. Okay. And that's why you have to be the one, you know what, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to understand you well. And now it's my turn. And sometimes when you have heard other people very nicely and with patiently, then sometimes it is a task itself to hold the mic to yourself, because some people still might come back and interrupt. And then you have to kind of hold them back. You know what? Okay, let me just make my point and then you can talk again. But okay, that's for another day. How to stop interruption from other people. I'm not going to get into that. Today, my goal is to simply make you a better listener, that you don't interrupt other people. Okay, so today the goal is that. So so the last point again was that when you listen well, others listen to you better also. Okay, and so that's a great benefit too. So now you can apply it in multiple ways. So I'm going to give you a small exercise to just experience this. Okay, you can think of it like the homework. As you go home, for next 1 week, okay, 1 week, try to just experience the other side of the table, which is, some of you probably are already good listeners. I'm not denying that, of course, but this is for people who are not, who actually want to talk a lot and they don't listen much. So try to make, and this, by the way, is very important in parenting, because parents have this bad mistake of immediately correcting children and just teaching them immediately whatever they come up with. They don't have patience to listen. They immediately want to teach them, correct them, instruct them, right? Their parents can be very, very bad listeners sometimes, because they just think they are higher up in the hierarchy and they know better, and so they don't have to listen much, and they can just talk. So they made tremendous mistakes. So whether with your child or with your partner or anybody, next 1 week, try this experiment, that just let other people talk and you ask and ask and ask. Okay, most of the times you'll also realize that your talking wasn't even necessary, and most of the time it isn't. You're just wasting your breath most of the times, right? So try to create a very different environment where you say, today we will not interrupt anybody. I'll listen to you completely. I'll actually understand you, and then I'll talk. So for next 1 week, in your mind, give 80% of stage time to other people. I'm intentionally taking you to the extreme. I'm not saying this is 80 to 20% is the recipe for the rest of the life. Of course, you have to talk too. You have to convey yourself too. But this is a starting exercise. Next 1 week, 80 to 90% of the time, just let other people talk and you just ask questions. Do this at your work. Do this with your children. Do this with your partners. Do this with your parents, whoever you're meeting, and see the effects. See how they feel. See how the conversation goes. See what you learn about them. see how deep into it you go, and see how much you enjoy the conversation simply by listening and not talking at all. Okay, try experiencing it. So and it will be difficult, because you will have again the urges to say something, to correct them, to interrupt them, and you will become impatient. But again, try to override all of that. So I'm giving you both reasons and actual practice, and so that's why I'm saying 80 to 90% of the time, and only ask questions. Okay, listen, so that you have both the behavior part. Okay, this is what I have to do, and reasons we have already discussed in this session. Okay, so, and if you do this well, and if you see good results, naturally you would do it a little more and more as you go forward. Okay, so that was it for me. Now I'll open it up for some questions. So whoever has some confusion or ideas or any comments about this topic, I would first welcome that, and later if you have other questions too, I can still take them too. So please, if you have a question, you can raise your hand. Oh, great. So I'm actually going to go one by one here, and whoever asks the question, they have to come on the video just saying that in advance. If you do not come on the video, I will not be taking the question. So I'll start with Monisha only. Yeah.
Okay. Shridhar, I think you're doing an excellent job. I came across one of your reels, I think maybe a week or 10 days ago. And I can't tell you, it's like you mentioned this line where, you suddenly find somebody who thinks on your same line. I think that's exactly when I started watching your videos. I mean, it struck a chord. So I have actually a lot of questions to ask. I'm a very curious person by nature. So if there's somebody else who wants to go first, I mean, I hope I don't bombard you with so many questions.
You can ask one question, okay, and maybe we'll come back to, yeah.
Okay, so I have often been told that I'm an excellent listener. Now, you gave the rule of 80-20%. Now, I generally come on that 20% line. Now, the issue that I face by being in that 20% is, so I have a certain category of people who say, why do you have to ask so many questions? Why? I mean, let the person share whatever they want to share. Now, personally, I feel when a person wants to talk to you, they just mention let's say the tip of the iceberg. But when you ask questions, you show your genuineness, you show your sincerity into sort of, trying to be a good listener. And that's when they start sharing. So, of course, you get to know more information about it. So here, I don't know if this goes on YouTube, but in case if it does, so let's say call this person as A. Now, this A person has got a group of friends, and of course, one of the friends is going through an issue, and I also happen to be there. Now, I ask a question, and suddenly this friend becomes like very keen on talking to me because, somewhere deep down, I've sort of touched her that she knows that she could be understood. Now, this person A gets like very annoyed with me, like, why do you have to ask so many questions? I mean, what's your problem? So, I do understand, like when we say we should understand other people's perspective as well. So I do understand where she's coming from. Like, why do you want to interfere in a person's life? So here is where I kind of get confused. So as a person, as a human being, I think everybody wants to talk, and honestly, between a speaker and a listener, I think listener is more powerful because you are the one who's actually steering the conversation. Now, I can just be quiet and, let the person go blah, blah, blah. And then there'll be like a big silence. So unless and until I ask a relevant question, I can't get into the depth or I can't make the person talk. So here is where, my whole question comes. I fall in that category of being a very good listener. But what do I do since I come in that 20%? So I'm told like, you ask so many questions. And the second thing I've been told is, and you don't share anything. I'm like, seriously, you ask me questions. I'll tell you. You ask me, I'll share whatever you want to know. But then if you're not asking any questions, it's like, for me, it comes across as, you're not really interested. So what do I do in a situation like this? Especially if you're for those category of people who fall in that 20% category.
So whatever action you're confused about in life, you can ask this question, whatever I just did, is it leading to suffering or is it leading to well-being? If whatever you're saying is, and here we are talking about objective, right? Real pain, real suffering. So If it's genuinely leading to some well-being, then what you're doing is right. If it's leading to real suffering for people, it's wrong. And in your case, if you're asking a question to that woman, that is the first action. Is that first action leading to well-being or suffering? It's definitely leading to well-being because they're enjoying it. Then any other people, if they are taking suffering from that, it means now it's not about valid reasons. It's more about their personal preferences. Okay. And then you can completely ignore those people because you have at the ground, you know that your action is not causing any real objective pain. It's just like, so for example, people, if you make a joke, right? If you make a joke about a culture or a religion or something, now you know for a fact that making a joke about a culture, religion, something, it did not cause any real pain to somebody, right? But somebody else may take an offense. They may say, you know what, you've hurt me and such and such. So in that case, even though you have not caused any harm, people have taken the harm. What do? You must know that you are in the right. And yes, there are ways to do it. There are ways to talk to people and ignore them. But ultimately, you must inside feel that I'm in the right. I'm right here. I'm not wrong. So in your case also, if you're talking to somebody, they're liking it, they're talking, you're enjoying listening to them, then it's nobody else's business. And if it's their preference that it must not happen, then they can basically apply that preference in their own life. They cannot force it on you, right? They don't need to ask that many questions. So, and always never confuse preference with reasons, objective reasons. People may have different kinds of preferences. Okay, it's like some people may say, I can eat parantha with achar. Some may say, no, I eat parantha with sauce, so ketchup. And then either people can say, you know what, that sounds disgusting. Like, oh, why would you eat it like that? So again, that's a preference. Those are not objective reasons. Objective reason would be not eating a stale parantha, which is, let's say, 1 week old, because that can actually make you sick, right? That's not a preference. So in your case also, the person A, they are merely showing their preference of a conversation. And you can completely ignore that as long as you know what you did is not causing real suffering. Okay, it's causing some well-being. And yeah, what was your second question?
Yeah, so on this note only, so I am related to, so I'm closer to A, but I'm not closer to that person who sort of, generally had an issue. Now, eventually what happens is, since my interaction with A is more, I can sense that very strong jealousy. So in such cases, for me, then it becomes like, if I look at my gain, I mean, of course, the other friend, she'll probably survive. There's no big issue. But for me to carry on leading a life with this very strong jealous emotion, now for me, I'd rather choose not to get her jealous. So I'd rather not talk to, or rather have a very sincere conversation with the other person. So I'd rather be more of a mute participant, when the discussion goes. So this is where there's a part of me which feels like, maybe I'm not doing right. But at the same time, the amount of jealousy or, basically jealousy, what it creates, that becomes rather too overbearing for me to sort of handle.
Yeah,
so it's basically...
So that is actually a different problem, which is that how. So conceptually, we are agreed that you're asking, like, you should not have to question that first. Okay, did I do something wrong here? You did not, right? You did not do something wrong by asking the question. Now, the second question is, now, like, there are pros and cons of doing it because of that person A in the equation, right? Because if you ask it, the one consequence is that they'll be upset, and the another consequence is, the good consequence would be that the conversation would be better. So then it comes to this basic choice, the basic question of what is the utility of each action? Ultimately, on average, basically, or if you sum all the pros and cons, is it ultimately good or bad? So in this case, if you feel that the loss of friendship with A is a bigger thing than the gain in conversation with the person X, then of course you don't do it because you really value that friendship more. And then it's just part of the reality that, people around you will never be perfect, and you will not always be able to do what is technically right because of, again, their preferences. So you can also let it go. And that also depends on, again, you're not doing it out of fear or domination or feeling that you're wrong. You're doing it simply out of the fact that, why bother with this? Because because
Yes.
this will lead to such and such discussion. Do I want to have that? Because if not, then maybe I can let it go. Okay. And there will never be a perfect answer for this, because here you are constantly making that judgment. What is the value of that conversation? What is the value of my friendship with this person A, right? And you're comparing those two things. And as long as that value is more, you're of course going to cherish the friendship more and not bother with that. But again, the cause of you letting go must be very clear in your mind. I am letting it go because of her unreasonable preferences, right? And so that you don't question yourself. And sometimes and the word compromise is actually a very important one. And it's what you're doing here would be, if you let that conversation go, if you don't ask the question, what would you be doing? You would be doing a compromise. And compromise is basically doing something which you don't have a good reason for, but you're doing it for somebody else's preference, or the other way around, right? That you're letting something go which you have no reason to let go, but you do it because of somebody else's preference. And that's exactly what compromise is, that I'm doing it without any reason for you. So if you let that go, you're essentially making a compromise for your friend. And that compromise is anyway an essential part of any relationship, because some days you will have to do things which you don't like, right? But you do it because it's because the other person likes it. Okay. So in that way, if you do it, it's still a good thing, because you are compromising as a friend, and that's fine. But again, if the compromises becomes too unreasonable, too big, then you start to question and become assertive, and you say, you know what, now it's too much. I really can't continue this anymore. I have to do what I have to do, right? So it will depend on the magnitude and significance of the situation too. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, actually, that's what. So for me, between the other friendship and my relation with A was sort of more of a value, and then I knew the other person. The person not in a that bad a situation that if the person doesn't talk, I mean, the person will probably kill himself. So I knew it's not that big a loss. So thanks so much for again a clarity on that.
Hi, Shridhar.
Hi.
Yeah. So my question is basically like, suppose in a situation where a friend is sharing something in an emotional breakdown moment. So at that point, is it more important to sympathize with them and say things like I understand, and is that more important, or is it like asking questions? Should, like, once they are finished, should we ask more questions and suggest solutions, or is it better to sympathize, rather, because anyway the person will not be in a mental state to understand or take any solutions. So how should that balance be?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Because when people are very, very emotional, questions again, what question you ask, that also matters. But usually the first thing would be to just let them finish, let them talk, and you just be there and you just understand them. And sometimes it's good to be able to summarize them. Okay. And now these are anyway tough moments, because people, when they're emotional, they tend to have different expectations. Some people like questions, some people don't like questions. Some people would like that, okay, you know what, you're talking about solutions. Some people say, I don't want to talk about a solution. So people also have different expectations when they're emotional, and you have to take time to understand what they want right now. Okay. And you'll do that with trial and error, because let's say if you ask a question and they're like, forget about that, then you got the message, you know what, she does not want to answer questions. So you won't always know in advance. You have to kind of hit and try, and then whatever works, you go with that. And sometimes they would want to, and if you ask a question and they really talk a lot and they enjoy giving the answer, then you realize maybe she needs to talk more. So maybe I can ask more questions. So there is no general rule for it. You will get the feedback from the person talking, from your behavior as you go into the conversation. Okay. So it would be a hit and try. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Next, I'm going to unmute Lakshmi.
Thank you so much for bringing this topic, because this is one topic I always feel that I struggle and I need to improve myself a lot. So, as Monisha said, I have just two questions. One is, so I have a friend, she's a very good listener, excellent listener. But the problem is, we keep sharing, and she never shares any of her thing. So that feels like, is she, how do I say, like, is she a real friend? That type of a feeling I get, actually. means, you keep sharing all your things, but she in turn, she's a very good listener, but you can never get any information from her. So that
even if you ask questions, even then she doesn't
yes,
share.
yes. So that brings a question to me, like, is this a good relationship that we are continuing? Very nice person, she never hurts anybody, all those kind of such good qualities, but you keep sharing everything, but from her end, only when she needs, she will approach you, otherwise there won't be any contact or anything like that. So I like, this is not something which is bothering me, but I always there is a doubt within myself, is this a good relationship, or is this a good friendship that I can continue? So
yeah, good question actually, because here it really comes down to natural personalities also, and there is a huge variation in how much need you have to share. In fact, if I talk about myself, I'm also on the lower side. Like, it's not that extreme what you just mentioned, but it's like I don't like to share that much, and usually I'm always curious and I'm always asking questions, right? But if people ask, of course I can talk, and I talk a lot, so I enjoy that too. So and sometimes when I talk, I can go in detail, but in general my default mode is usually asking and learning about people. Okay, so and now why is it that I have no idea, right? I was just built like that, and some people, they'll just come in and they'll have 5 stories right there with them, right? This happened this morning, this happened yesterday, this happened on their last trip, and they just have stories ready. And some people just don't. Okay, so because this is basically how our mind works naturally, which is key. Some people just have those things ready and they want to share. So with your friend, first of all, it's primarily because of her natural personality. So you must never take it personally, am I doing something wrong, or what's wrong with our friendship or something. So it's mostly about her. That's one. Second is, yes, each friendship will have its own limitations, its own goods and bads. And you cannot always expect all the natural things from any particular friendship. And that's why in your friendship, you have a very good listener, and maybe in another friendship you'll find an amazing talker, and maybe you'll find somebody who does both, but that doesn't do something else. So that way, whenever you are questioning a friendship or assessing a friendship, or let's say its worth, it's good to be able to have the whole picture, because no one trait or no one deficit should let you kind of question the whole thing. Okay, is this a good friendship? Because that would be ignoring a lot of the goods from it as well. Okay, and this is why I always say, see relationships or even friendships on a spectrum. Your relationship, your friendship with her may not be in 8, 9 or 10, and even if it's 7 is something, right? And those missing points are probably partly because of what you mentioned, that she's not sharing something, so you don't feel that intimate or that intimacy or that closeness, because you know what, now I don't know much about her. So and yes, to feel the sense of intimacy or closeness, it is kind of prerequisite that you know about each other's lives. So maybe you don't get that feeling there because again, she's not sharing much. But then in many other areas, the friendship must be valuable. So that way, understand that this is one of the limitations of your friendship, but it should not let it take over the whole feeling, right? Not let you assess the whole relationship as, okay, is this good or not? No. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I just have one more question, if it is. I'll just quickly ask you can just share your things. So my mother-in-law, she's a very good listener, excellent listener, and her thing is, she always keeps on asking questions after questions. And sometimes like morning, when we have the time pressure to make the children get ready for school or things like that, when she asks, it really I really admire her for that quality, because I don't have that. But sometimes when their curiosity when they ask questions, it really sometimes I get the irritation, like, why so many questions? So I'm asking this question, how do I correct myself like with her behavior?
So when she asks questions, what do you think her intention behind those questions is? Just like
it's just a basic silly question, like in the morning, she'll ask like, oh, did you sleep well? It's a very caring question that she asks. It's not something like to just put you or to poke you. So she'll ask, oh, did you sleep well? And did the dog eat the food? So these type of questions, but these are like every day, these questions, the same questions will be asked every single day. So that is when I get, if it is like one single day, then that's fine. But every single day when she comes down, right, she will ask this question. So I feel like, oh, why, the same question, why do I need to keep answering the same question every day? But I know she's a very good listener. She is definitely a very good listener. The only thing is curiosity. Her curiosity is bringing the irritation to me. So how do I handle myself? Because I know like she's not asking anything offensive. It is my response, which is I want to correct myself.
No, first of all, I'm happy that you asked the question very specifically, and you recognize the fact that she's not doing anything wrong, and you're getting irritated, and you want to fix that. So that, and by the way, I asked that question about the intention part because I sometimes they can ask you in a nosy manner, which is like they're trying to interfere in things. But here you clarified that she's asking just in a curious manner, like she just wants to know about you. So, and those are two very different things. And in your case, it's actually very, it's beautiful. It's very nice that she actually asks those questions. She cares enough and she wants to know about you, right? So you first have to keep that in mind. See, then the thing is, once you keep the focus on the intentions of other people, it really changes your experience with them. So whenever she asks that, immediately ask yourself, okay, why would she ask that? Because she actually cares about me, she probably loves me, she wants to feel closer to me. And as long as those intentions are really nice and good and healthy, you push yourself sometimes and you remind yourself that, you know what, I have to respond nicely, warmly to those nice intentions, because these are the most beautiful things in life, because you never get them so quickly or easily, because good intentions is the best you can expect from other people, right? Good intentions from other people, it's the most beautiful thing. So when you remind yourself that, then you're like, okay, what is my cost? Your cost is simply probably 30 seconds or 1 minute of replying, probably 2 minutes of replying, or even 5 minutes of replying. So even in 5 minutes, if you pay the cost of replying or just saying something, in return, you're getting good intentions from a human being, which is one of the most beautiful. So when you see it like that, then you're like, okay, you know what, you can ask 5 more questions. It's okay. I'm here to talk to you because you like me, you're close to me, you care about me. And that's rare that people care about you. Right? How rare is that? Imagine having nobody in life caring about you and asking those questions. So, and this is the cost you have to pay if you want somebody to care about you. Okay, so I
actually replied to her saying like, so morning, when I'm just making my daughter get ready before 7:30, she has to catch the bus and go. So when I'm with her, when she asked that, so later I explained to her, like, if you don't mind, would you be able to ask all these questions, like after she goes to school, because, I would definitely have the time to, sit and answer. I told like that, I don't know whether it is right or wrong, but because that moment I'll be like doing, too many things. And then it is very hard for me to just focus and answer all those questions. So I told her like this, I don't know if what I did is right or wrong.
No, it totally depends how you said it, because postponing...
No, this is the way I said it.
Yeah. So as long as you said it, see, the question is, you have to check how it's being received, right? Is she, if she is feeling the tone in you that, okay, these are unnecessary questions, too much, and I'm irritated, it will reflect in your tone, and then it will hurt them. But if if inside you're actually, so it's like, think about it like this. If you're genuinely happy about something, and then inside you're feeling very happy, and then you know what, I'll just come back to it. Like, I'm really enjoying it. It's like coming back to a song, coming back to a film that you're watching, right? So the thing is, you have to make her feel that, you know what, I would love to talk about this. Just give me 20-30 seconds. So in your tone, the impatience or those things must not reflect, because if they're in there, they reflect. And that is the entire thing. And people don't mind postponing a conversation as long as they're getting a good response and warm response from you. They understand, right? So the way you do it really, really matters. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Shridhar. That was really a very helpful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming. And people who ask questions, again, thank you to you too. And see you again next week, same time. This will continue as always. And I hope today's session was helpful. Videos can help you to some degree, but if your problems are really serious or painful, you should come for counseling. We now have a team of psychologists who can help you and your family live a much better life. Here are some feedbacks from our clients. If you wish to take counseling from us, go to our website page www.shridharlifeschool.com/counsel. Click on this link and fill this application form. We will get back to you soon. I would be doing these online meetings with you all regularly for some time. If you wish to attend these meetings live on Zoom, save the details. If you need reminders, we also send invitations to you personally on email and Telegram app. To get reminders, do the following.